Okay, let's play some damn chess.
It's a system designed to keep
Street
people
whore.
in line, keep the money flowing in, and to keep you
Suck
from
my
questioning
slut.
too much. And I know this because I used to be one of them. I stood on the platform week over week believing that I was doing the work of God. But looking back, I realized how much I kept hidden, sometimes because I was trained to, and sometimes because I didn't even recognize the problems myself.
China.
And here's the irony. When I was ordained, I actually believed that we were about to fix the world, like we were Batman swooping in to save Gotham. But in reality, it turns out we were more like the Kardashians, busy brand building, thriving on drama, and selling illusions for ratings. So today, we're counting down the top 10 things pastors don't want you to know about church. And trust me, if churchgoers knew these things, a whole lot more people would be in.
Damn it.
Let's get started. So number 10, church is a business, not a ministry. Churches love to brand themselves as spiritual homes, places of worship where the focus is on faith, community, worship, and prayer. But behind the scenes, churches are structured more like businesses than sanctuaries. They rely on a steady stream of revenue, they market themselves, and they have clear financial incentives to grow their congregations. The moment money is involved, it stops being a simple place of worship and starts being like a corporation with tax exemptions. Pastors may not call themselves CEOs, but they manage their churches like CEOs, overseeing budgets, payroll, building expansions, and even marketing strategies to draw in new members. This isn't to say that every church is a money-hungry empire, but the reality is, without money, churches cannot operate. And that financial dependence shapes every decision they make, from the messages they preach to the programs they fund. Ever notice how the humble pastor's face is plastered on billboards, newsletters, and social media ads? They make Apple's marketing look reserved. Turns out, if you can't hook new fish, the donation pond goes dry real quick. Let's look at number 9. Your tithes don't go where you think they do. Pastors love to emphasize the importance of tithing, claiming it's a direct act of faith. Stupid! But let's be real. Most of your tithe goes towards salaries, maintenance, and operating costs. While some churches do charitable work, the bulk of their funds are spent keeping the organization afloat. Things like staff salaries, including the pastor's paycheck, which sometimes be quite significant. But also mortgage or rent for the church building, utilities, maintenance, renovations, and, of course, marketing campaigns to attract new members. Meanwhile, very little actually makes its way to the poor and needy. Churches that push tithing the hardest tend to be the ones most focused on sustaining their own institution, not on their communities. It's like donating to a charity that promises to save endangered pandas, but 90% of the funds go to panda costumes for the staff and building plush office spaces. Then they hand out 3 granola bars to a homeless guy, snap a picture, and call it outreach. Number 8, most pastors doubt, but can't admit it. Believe it or not, many pastors experience doubt about their faith, but they can't afford to be honest about it. If a pastor publicly questions God's existence, the Bible's reliability, or key theological
Wilson
concepts,
in
they
1988
risk losing their influence, their job, their congregation, and even their reputation. So instead, they bury their doubts and continue preaching.
Suck my slut!
They no longer believe what they're saying. This creates a culture
of coming after that bishop. I didn't say bishop, I said this shit.
Feel trapped in their roles, unable to leave, even if they no longer believe. They might spend years secretly questioning their faith, all while standing in front of a congregation preaching certainty. I can remember late night Google binges myself about fossil evidence and contradictions in scripture, and then waking up Sunday morning to deliver a message on unwavering faith. Talk about living a double life. Number 7, church leadership is a boys' club. Despite the modern push for gender equality, church leadership remains overwhelmingly male-dominated. Many churches still refuse to allow women to serve as pastors or hold leadership positions. Even in churches that claim to be progressive, women often find themselves stuck in subordinate roles, expected to support men rather than lead alongside them. The Bible is often used as justification for this, citing verses about women being submissive or women being seen as the weaker vessel. But let's be honest, this is about maintaining control. Keeping leadership male-centered ensures that power stays in the hand of men, preventing challenges to the traditional hierarchy. You know, there's nothing like a progressive church that puts women on the women's committee to decorate, cook, and occasionally read announcements. But heaven forbid they speak from the platform with actual authority. Equal rights, more like equal potluck contributions.
Now fucking move that bishop right
Number
here.
6, the church thrives on guilt and fear. Ever wonder why so many church messages
I'm coming after that bitch shit. I didn't say bishop, I said bitch shit.
Guilt and shame are powerful motivators. If people feel like they're constantly failing, they'll keep coming back for forgiveness and guidance. And if they fear punishment, whether in the form of hellfire or social rejection, which is also a form of social coercion, by the way, they'll comply with whatever the church tells them to do. This is why messages about love and grace are often paired with warnings about sin and damnation, warnings about missing the mark. It keeps people emotionally dependent on the church, making them less likely to leave. It's like a soap opera plot.
Come on, you
keep the audience hooked with a cycle of danger and rescue, sin and salvation, so that they never miss an episode.
Come on,
The only difference is, in church, you're both the guilty sinner and
move.
Number 5. Most church growth is just people switching churches. Churches love to brag about growth. But here's the truth. Most new members aren't actually new believers. I've been sounding this alarm for a little while now. They're just Christians moving from one church to another church. And most times they're not even good Christians. But pastors measure success by attendance. But what they don't tell you is that many churches actively recruit from other congregations rather than bringing in people who weren't already believers.
Now,
they rely on
that
reshuffling the same pool of Christians rather than converting new members. Churches with the best music, entertainment, and social programs tend to win the battle for members. But in reality, very few churches are actually growing the Christian faith. Most are just competing for the same market. They might as well hand out transfer forms at the door, you know? Please tell me about your 7 most recent churches. Number 4, worship music is designed to manipulate you. The emotional high.
I just did. You're stupid.
Technique. Churches use repetitive lyrics, rising melodies, and atmospheric lighting to create an altered state of mind, making attendees to the message. Now, this is
stupid.
Designed to make you feel connected to God when it's really just a psychological response to sound, rhythm, and community. Studies have shown that the same emotional responses occur at secular concerts and political rallies. It's not divine intervention, it's human psychology at work. And sure, we called it the Holy Spirit, but if you swapped out the lyrics for R&B love songs, the same tears, same goosebumps.
Man, I fucked up.
The difference? No altar call at a Beyonce concert, contrary to popular Christian conspiracy. 3, your pastor has more power over you than you think. Many pastors go beyond spiritual guidance and seek to control your personal decisions, from who you vote for, to who you love, to how you parent. This isn't just advice, it's social pressure disguised as doctrine. Some churches even shun members who step out of line using ostracization as a means of control. If you challenge the pastor's authority or question a doctrine, you may find yourself quietly pushed out or publicly shamed. It's not just faith, it's a power structure designed to maintain order and compliance. I once tried to post a very neutral comment on a controversial topic, and next thing I knew, I was hauled into several spiritual concern meetings with church leaders. They were more upset about my differing opinion than they would have been if I had robbed a bank. That speaks volumes. Number 2, Christianity survives because of indoctrination. Most believers didn't choose Christianity, they were born into it. Churches know that if kids aren't indoctrinated early, they're far less likely to adopt religious belief later in life. This is why many churches are very glad to support other fantasy and fairy tale characters because they know it all works together for their good. That's why youth ministries exist, not to teach kids how to think, but to go ahead and tell them what to think. From a young age, children are conditioned to accept religious teachings as fact, discouraging critical thinking about their faith. Without this early reinforcement, Christianity would struggle to sustain itself. Some of my earliest memories are coloring pictures out of the Bible, such as Noah's Ark, but never quite allowed to ask, so wait, God drowned everybody else? That's kind of extreme, isn't it? It just gave me more crayons and told me to thank God for his mercy. Isn't it beautiful how they love to have us painting, as children, acts of, well, you know, that. Alright. And before we get to number one, if you like what I do and want to show your support, click the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the alert notification bell, and if you can, please share this to your social media. That's how we can continue to make a difference. Now, on with number one on our list. The church needs you more than you need it. Without your money, attendance, and loyalty, the church ceases to exist. It tells you that you need it for morality, purpose, and salvation. The truth is, the church is dependent on you, not the other way around. And once you realize that, you're free. At the end of the day, church isn't about truth, it's about control. Pastors won't admit that because their entire livelihood depends on people staying in the system. But you don't have to. You can think for yourself. You can walk away. And when you do, you'll realize you never needed the church to begin with. The minute you say, actually, I'm good without Sunday morning guilt trips and enforced tithes, is the minute you discover a whole world of authenticity.
Dumbass, move that fucking whore right here.
And agency. It's like discovering you had wings for the whole time, but they were folded under a pew. Christians, have you ever wondered why so many pastors end up becoming atheists? Click here to watch my Bible study with an ex-pastor series, and if you're interested in the most recent video I did about the 10 lies I told as a pastor, you can click down here to watch that video. Thank you for hanging out with me as I told with an ex-pastor series, and if you're interested in the most recent
I knew the motherfucker would do that shit. Stupid bitch. God damn it.
I finally found the
God
agency
damn it.
to live in my authenticity.
God fucking damn it.
I got my own autonomy. You could never bother me. Yes, I'm a fuck with the ball. Yeah.
Suck
I
my
finally
dick,
found the
bitch.
agency to live in my authenticity. Ooh, I got my own autonomy. You could never bother me. Yes, I'm on fuck with the ball. Let me tell you how I know. I had to get up off the floor. I had to get it out the mud. I had to finally let it go. I know my mama told me so, but she could never really know that when a boy was getting older, that his mind was getting sober. Yeah. But I'm getting closer now. I had a church, but I closed it down. Had to reverse the emotions. I had to apologize. Selling eternity, willing to die. I was just living a lie. Walking by faith and ignoring the sight. Better off rolling the dice. And what I'm saying
Shut the fuck up and get in the goddamn
I've
video.
given and I've earned enough of my concern. And if I'm living, then I'm living on my terms. Call it a lesson learned, but it's finally been confirmed. I finally got the agency to live in my authenticity. Ooh, I got my own autonomy. You can never
Come on, you
bother
motherfucker.
me. Yes, I'm up with the ball, yeah. I finally found the agency
Move!
to live in my authenticity. Ooh, I got my own autonomy. You can never bother me. Yes, I'm up with the ball. What's up, family? Welcome back to another Wednesday night for Bible study with an ex-pastor.
Come on,
And I
you
hope y'all
whore.
are ready for this conversation tonight, man. Last week, we had Chris Mallard with us from the Daily Atheist Media Network, and we had an incredible time, which is really hard to do with the book of Leviticus, because I think I've made it pretty clear I'm not a fan of this book. I wasn't a fan of this book when I was a young Christian. I wasn't a fan of this book when I was a preacher. I was
Suck
not
my
a fan
dick,
of this
bitch.
book when I was a pastor. There just wasn't good pastoring material that you want to pull out of Leviticus. Not to me. But man, we had an incredible good time with it. There's been a lot of things that I didn't expect to pull out of Leviticus, like God.
I see a dick in your future. I see a dick.
We'll see if we get there with any of that.
Oh!
But this is going to be fun, and we're going to start reframing this show a little bit. Of course, The idea is
Cause
still
that
the
was
same. Learn the Bible, laugh at
stupid.
bullshit while having a good time. I often remind people that these
I was
sessions
looking
on
at that
Wednesday
option, but I
nights,
didn't
this is
actually
more
think you were gonna
therapy
fall for
than
that like a
theology.
sack
So
of
if you're
tons of
coming
bricks
here
of
to get
shit
closer
each
to the
one weighing a
Lord, this
ton.
might not be the place where you want to be.
fucker.
I think you
Stupid
walked into the wrong
fucker.
room, player. But if
Now,
you're
fucker,
here
been overlook
because,
this
you
so
know,
I can put
maybe
your
you've
dick ass
struggled
in
with these scriptures
checkmate,
your whole
slut.
life, they represent place of pain,
Don't even
of
think about
trauma,
beating
or
that
just
damn
curiosity
bitch,
for
that bitch
you,
shit down
and
there.
you want a safe
Putrefy
place to
me.
just be able to talk about this stuff without feeling judged because you have an unpopular opinion about an old book, then this place is really for you. And so I think one of the ways we're going to start reframing this is, while yes, this is still Bible study with an ex-pastor, I think we're going to start calling this ex-pastors versus the Bible. Because damn, this feels like a face-off. And so we're going to jump into all of that. Now, while you're here, as you're coming in, if you haven't already, you know the drill. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that alert notification bell, and consider supporting, connecting, or joining with this community channel or content in any way that makes sense for you. You can join our Patreon, you can join our Discord, you can join our YouTube membership program, but maybe you say, shit, that sounds like too much commitment for me. Then just buy a book or buy some merch, and we just released some dope new merch today and some new merch last week. So your boy has been grinding, which is one of the reasons why I'm so damn tired. You know what I'm saying? But those are easy ways that you can support the mission of building community beyond superstition while giving yourself something to sport. You know what I'm saying? And just for those of you
coming after you,
call yourselves Brick City. What's up?
China?
Because really the goal is to bridge you, to get you connected with as many people out here who are in the community doing work as possible, whether they be ex-pastors, ex-ministers, whether they be content creators, whether they be activists or advocates. There are people out here who are passionate about
that was
people,
sweet to me when I eared your rip,
passionate about critical thinking.
And
we
put your
sure
black ass in checkmate
to them while we're getting connected too, so we can start building these networks of safe spaces, soft places to land, so that we can actually start supporting the things that matter to us. I hope that makes sense. All right, so have I hit kind of everything? Hey, we're trying to come to Raleigh in April. What are y'all doing, man? Do y'all want to be a part of that? If you do, let us know in the chat. We're going to share the link. I think we got some people here who are going to share the link tonight. It's been a long day, but it should definitely be in our description. All right, so tonight we're going to be picking up back in the book of Exodus. Last week we had Chris Mallard. This week I'm bringing back a friend, and some of y'all should already know because you should have seen the thumbnail. Have y'all seen the thumbnail? That's right, Kyle. Passionate about change.
Come on, you slut.
Oh, man. I love it, Muttley. I know I haven't walked into the wrong room. Tonight, man, I'm bringing a friend of mine that I just met. Was that last year? Yeah, just the end of last year. In Charlottesville, Virginia. At the Recovering from Religion retreat, fall excursion. That we were there a part of.
Now,
because
we
were part of a documentary together. And so we met back then, got to meet up again recently, or earlier at the top of this year, I think, if I can get my dates right. It's so weird, or it might have been at the end of last year. It's so, was it before Christmas? I think it was before Christmas, yeah. And then I brought, of course, he came onto the channel with us on an ex-pastor call-in show, which was actually our most viewed ex-pastor call-in show. We had like 5 of us on there that night. And then we brought the whole crew for the whole cast from the Heathens documentary to be on the show. And so since then, AT and I have had opportunity to just have a lot of conversations, and I've been pretty much begging him, man, like, hey, we got to get you on more stuff over here because he has so much to offer. And so I think this is going to be tonight. This is going to be incredible tonight. So would y'all join me in welcoming Mr. Ex-Pastor, Mr. Ex-Reverend AT Coffee. From Victoria, Texas, man. Welcome in, AT. How you feeling today, man?
Hey, I'm feeling good for an old man. You know, can't complain. Got my cat sitting here on my lap. Got my wife in the room with me. It's great, man. I'm doing good.
All right, okay. So you got to tell us the cat's name. What's the cat's name?
This cat's name is Dr. Livingston.
Dr. Livingston, yes.
Yeah, see? Here's Dr. Livingston. Yeah.
Oh my goodness! Look at him.
She's a good girl.
God,
she's a her.
Damn it.
Okay. Yeah, she's a her. That's right. That's right. You told me about Dr. Livingston before.
Yes, Dr. Livingston had a brother, Dr. Watson, who tragically died before his time, and They apparently were like the same embryo and they had split apart. They weren't quite twins because he was quite a bit bigger than she was, but you could tell on the back that their pattern was like one big pattern on their back and on the sides of their face and stuff. So you know, little genetics there going on with my new kitty. She sleeps with me every night.
Oh,
she loved her daddy, and her daddy loved her.
Oh my goodness! So I have a question for you that I've been itching to ask you all day, right? So, as a former Southern Baptist pastor, how do you feel about the Book of Book of Leviticus? Was it a book that you found suitable for preaching? Was it a book that you pulled on quite a bit? What was your relationship with this particular book?
Well, you know, before I became an atheist in the pulpit, when I still believed in God and all that kind of good stuff, I bought into the whole party line that it was a book that was designed to be metaphorically interpreted when it talks about all the laws for cleansing and the priesthood, and that Christ fulfilled all those things, and that we looked at this to understand how hard it was to get forgiven for your sins, and it wasn't even really forgiveness, you know, according to the book of Hebrews.
Now,
you were just it was just a fill-in until Jesus came along and perfected everything. And then we also used it as a place to, you know, drag out stuff like shouldn't lie with, you know, anti-homosexual stuff, and we skipped the stuff about shrimp. And also don't get tattoos, but you know, we skipped the stuff about, you know, mixing, you know, cloths together and things like that. But yeah, it was, and we also looked at it from a historical perspective, saying that it was part of the whole book of Exodus written by Moses, and so we had to take that into account in the historical sequence of God's dealing with the people of Israel, who are his 100% only chosen people, even now, except for Christians.
Wow.
And it was, you know, I didn't preach out of it a lot just because I don't think anybody would want to sit through, you know, discharges and cleansing and all that kind of stuff. And so yeah, you know, I mean, it was accepted as part of the Word of God in the original manuscripts. In spite of the fact that it's pretty obvious Moses did not write all this. When you look at the differences between the text. Have y'all talked about the documentary hypotheses?
Oh, sure. Come on. I know Jason has mentioned it before, but man, we'd always love a refresher.
Well, anyhow, the documentary hypotheses, you know, you have the Yahwehists and the Elohists and the Deuteronomists and the priestly writers, and the book of Leviticus is almost entirely a priestly composition. There's like almost nothing in there from any of these other folks. But the Yahwehists wrote certain parts of it where you see the name Yahweh a lot, and the Elohists wrote parts of the first 5 books where you see the term Elohim a lot. The Deuteronomic, he went back and rewrote a bunch of stuff and called it the Book of Deuteronomy and made a few changes here and there. But most of the priestly stuff is in the Book of Leviticus. So it's like these are the guys who are concerned about. These are the guys that would go hang out with what the Roman Catholic liturgists, you know, the people who sit down and write out their little liturgy that takes forever to do, and you have to do it exactly right. Because if you say the words wrong, then God's not going to do what He told you He was going to do, and that's how this feels. That's how Leviticus feels, man. I had to go dig out my genuine 100% preaching Bible.
Oh snap!
This is what I used to preach out of in church. I got it on May 18th, 1998.
Wow, man!
And the reason I got it was I got it on sale because it was damaged. One of the pages were folded in, and had a big thing sticking out along here where it wasn't cut right. Yeah. And so I got this for like $10.
Ooh.
And it's genuine leather, New American Standard 1995 edition. The real Word of God.
Yes. Oh, that's funny.
And so yeah, but I thought, man, I got to dig out my preaching Bible for this. This is epic.
I love it.
And I'm so glad I got that fucking home.
Sure.
Did you come to the conclusion that Moses was not the author of the first 5 before you be converted or after you be converted?
After.
God
it's weird. My conversion experience didn't really have a whole lot to do with just the Bible itself. It was all stuff that led me to the point where I realized that my ability to discern spiritual stuff was actually all going on in my head. There wasn't really any spiritual stuff to discern. And when I realized that, I realized, well, this has got to be nothing but a big old pile of toilet paper. You know?
Wow.
Because if there really isn't any kind of spiritual stuff going on, then there's nobody writing this stuff except a bunch of guys.
Man.
And so that's when I kind of chucked the Bible, because it wasn't. I know a lot of people, they get there by reading the Bible and stuff, but I've read the entire Bible through more times than I can remember. Yeah, because I felt like that was part of my job as the pastor, was to read and reread and study, and I would see things in there and I'm like, I don't know about that.
Yes.
But even so, it's like, okay, I just got to trust God. I don't understand how this works, but I just got to trust God. And but when I realized that my ability to perceive reality was flawed, when I talked to you heard me talk about the gorilla tape.
Oh
yeah. Well, that was when Shermer did his little talk and showed the gorilla tape. That's when I realized.
Showed the
wow.
Effect.
Yeah.
Because I always had this firm belief, that I could perceive reality every time it presented itself. Well, no. And so I started doing a bunch of research, and I realized, wow, not only can I not perceive reality the way I thought I could, because I had a lot of confidence in my ability to know what was real and what wasn't and what was going on. I got to step back and look at all this stuff that I had thought was real all this time, and turns out it wasn't real. And when I realized that, then I realized, well, the Bible can't be anything that's important beyond maybe being a documentary account of how these different people thought about their religion.
Yeah.
And it's impossible to know if that's really what they thought, because, like I said, with the documentary hypothesis, you've got guys writing early stuff, and then you've got guys coming back and editing it, just kind of like the difference between 1st and 2nd Samuel and 1st and 2nd Chronicles. You find all sorts of things in there that are way different in one and the other. Chronicles always makes David look better, and always makes Israel's armies look better.
Yeah.
The first 2 books of Chronicles. And that kind of stuff. But I still have the markers in here from the last sermons I preached. See these things here? Yeah. I put them in order as I went through the, so I always printed out all the scriptures in my sermons, but I would go through and I would go ahead and tab those in case I just needed to read more than what I had printed out in my notes.
Yeah. Now, how would you lead Bible study at your church?
Coming after you, slut.
Well, let's see. I generally ended up, I preached 3 sermons a week. Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday night. Sunday night and Wednesday night were more informal. I would take questions, and sometimes we'd have a discussion, but they were almost always in the format of a sermon.
Yeah.
I taught Sunday school occasionally, and that was the most effective way to do that with the old people I had, was to do the whole lecture method. Because they would get really disgusted if you started trying to do the learning activities. I want to hear you
Now,
talk about
Bucky
it.
move that right here.
Okay. Okay.
So I
fine.
can stick
No
my dick
learning
in the king's
activities.
butt and twist.
But yeah. So this is a relic.
King's butt.
Wow.
I had preached the Sunday before I got fired and outed as an atheist, and so this is the last sermon I preached.
Oh snap! Okay, you're gonna have to tell us a little bit about that sermon. You're gonna have to tell us about the last sermon you preached.
I don't really remember anything about it, honestly. I didn't think to pull that up, because I've got years. Let's see, what do I have marked here? It's Matthew 5. So I was probably talking about something in the Sermon on the Mount. I spent a lot of time in the Sermon on the Mount. In fact, I spent, pissing people off with the Sermon on the Mount. I spent a couple years preaching through it, verse by verse, word by word. I even came up with a title for the series. I called it the life of the new creation in Jesus Christ, and because I pitched it not as things you do to become holy and to become like Jesus. These are things you do because you know Jesus and you've been sanctified in the inner man.
Hallelujah.
That kind of stuff. I pissed a lot of people off with that. They did not like me. They did not like the Sermon on the Mount. They wanted to hear Paul. Paul's their buddy.
Yes, everybody loves Paul. We might as well be Paulinians instead of Christians.
That's right. We want to hear what Paul has to say. But it was a lot of times it was, looking back on it, because I've looked at a few of my sermons and stuff, and sometimes it was more of a autistic info dump than it was a sermon.
Yeah. Man. Oh man, I love it. All right, man. Well, we're gonna jump into this tonight. I think we're at Leviticus chapter 14. Let me get it on the screen.
Okie dokie. I got my Bible open.
Yes. And let's see.
What version are we using? Oh, we're using the New American Standard Version.
We are indeed. When I was a pastor, that was my preference. Up until the moment when I stopped believing, I did continue preaching a little bit after I stopped believing. And so once I stopped believing, I didn't have a preference anymore. So I started using the Passion Translation for New Testament stuff because it was just so wonky and laid back. It was easy to do whatever I wanted to do with. Oh man.
Yeah, I got into the New American Standard Version because I liked how literal it was, and at the same time, it wasn't the King James where I had to explain to people what English words actually meant.
Yes, like wherefore, right? Yeah,
wherefore or forward. How many people know what forward means?
Stupid fucker.
All right, well, let me clear my throat a little bit. Sorry, y'all. I'm still getting over this from last week. Obviously, I feel a ton better, but still getting back in the game. So I'm going to do my James Earl Jones, and I'll see if I can find a stopping place, and then AT, we'll see if we can find something to talk about in this weird chapter here. So it says, Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, This shall be the law of the person with leprosy on the day of his cleansing. Now he shall be brought to the priest, and the priest shall go out to a place outside the camp. Then the priest shall look, and if the leprous infection has been healed in the person with leprosy, then the priest shall go out. Then the priest shall give orders to take 2 live clean birds, cedar wood, a scarlet string, and hyssop for the one who is to be cleansed. The priest shall also give orders to slaughter the one bird in an earthenware vessel over running water. As for the live bird, he shall take it together with the cedar wood, the scarlet string, and the hyssop, and shall dip them and the live bird in the blood of the bird that was slaughtered over the running water. Oh, damn. Okay. He shall then sprinkle 7 times the one who is to be cleansed from the leprosy, and shall pronounce him clean. And he shall let the bird go free over the open field. The bird that we just soaked in blood. Okay. The one to be cleansed shall then wash his clothes and shave off all his hair and bathe in water and be clean. And afterward he may enter the camp. But he shall stay outside the tent for 7 days. Then it shall be on the 7th day that he shall shave off his hair, He shall shave his head and his beard and his eyebrows, even all his hair. He shall then wash his clothes and bathe his body in water and be clean. Now, someone pointed this out before, and I thought it was a very fair and valid point. If we were gonna do all of that and then take a bath at the end, why couldn't we just take a bath at the beginning to see if that would work? Now, AT, do you have any insight here?
Well, yeah, I have some insight. Yeah. Well, yeah, I was looking at this, and it's like, he talks about, it says, the priest shall give orders to slay one bird in an earthenware vessel over running water. Well, the word for that running water is actually living water. That's what it says literally in Hebrew, and I always thought to myself, so we're going to unalive the bird over the living water. But
wow.
But yeah, unalive him over the living water.
That's crazy.
You see how it's like sprinkled 7 times and 7 days. That's that whole thing the Bible has about the word, the number 7.
Yes.
Jesus 777 is the number of God, whereas 666 is the number of Satan.
No, 7. This guy's a dumbass.
Shall be cleansed. He has to wash his clothes and shave off all his hair. In fact,
yes.
Jesus 777 is the number of God, whereas
no, that's bullshit. You show me where in that Bible where it says that, you stupid old man.
whereas 666 is the number of Satan. This whole thing, shall be cleansed. He has to wash his clothes and shave off all of his hair and bathe in water and be clean. Now, if I was preaching that as a Baptist preacher, I would have said, well, this is symbolic of what Christ has already done for us. You don't have to go shave all your hair off, metaphorically speaking, or literally, and go outside the camp and take a bath, because you've already been washed in the blood of the Lamb, Jesus Christ. Maybe not put it like that exaggeratedly. That's what I would have said. And because that's how we viewed all this stuff. It was metaphorical. It was stuff that shows us how much Christ saved us from a lot of problems and difficulties, and to be saved, because all we have to do is accept Christ into our heart. He comes in, he takes care of all of it, and we don't have to kill birds, and we don't have to shave our heads off or anything like that anymore. And to be a holy person that we're supposed to be.
Some of you son of a bitch.
And when you put it like that, it does become a more effective tool, right? Like when you say, when you paint Jesus and what he's done for you through the work of the cross, in comparison to what, if you believe this, what you had to do for yourself prior to Jesus with every little infraction. So it becomes a persuasive tool of like, yes, because of Jesus, you don't have to go unalive one bird and then dip another bird in its blood and then throw it and see how well it flies after it's been soaked in blood. You don't have to do that anymore. You know what I'm saying? Which sounds a little disturbing to begin with. But now all you have to do is accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior for the rest of your life. Which that's a hard sell to begin with. You just replace that with anybody other than Jesus. Like accepting anybody as your Lord and Savior for the rest of your life, and if you don't, you spend eternity in hell. It's like, yikes, this story took a turn, didn't it? I thought this was about making it easier for me.
Well, and to top that off, it's somebody you have literally never seen, you've never met,
Yes.
and you've never actually talked to, in spite of what people will tell, oh, when you pray, you hear that voice, that's God speaking to you. No, that's my brain speaking to me.
Yes.
The illusion of Jesus is talking to me, or like when I used to read. I read 4 devotional books every morning, 4 little, daily devotional things, and I had to. This is how weird this can get in your mind. If
I love this.
I had the majority of them were talking about something similar, then I thought, okay, that's something God wants you to really pay attention to. Even if it was something that had absolutely nothing to do with me, but because I had this idea that not only was God talking to me in my, he talked to me in my head, but he would talk to me through these books and make sure that the things I needed to, really pay attention to were going to be in all 4 of these little books, or even if it was like the majority of them. Sometimes you read them and all 4 of them have something entirely different. But that's how diluted you can get when you start thinking things like that actually have some sort of special spiritual meaning. And looking at all for the, if they ever actually did this, because we don't even know that they actually did this, because this book was probably written during the Persian captivity, which is like 500 and something BC, well after any real Moses stuff would have gone on. And it could be that they never did any of this stuff. We don't know that. I think they may have done some of it in the time of Christ, if he ever actually existed, which I have my doubts about that too. But during that period, I think he's just kind of a made up mythical being.
Niggers.
It seems like, oh man, I would love this conversation. Okay, so
after show, every time you have it, we'll have that conversation, bro.
Oh yeah, we need to. We need to.
Yeah, mythical Jesus.
I love it.
But that's all part of the whole thing. We take this stuff that, if they actually did it, it's all very concrete, very, touchy-feely kind of stuff. I mean, you're killing birds. And you're sprinkling blood on people, and making them do all sorts of weird shit, like shave their head. Can you imagine what a person would look like if they shaved all the hair off their body? Because we're talking hair, we're talking eyebrows, beard. If you had hair on your chest, your pubes, your legs, your butt crack, everything.
Oh no, and I'm not imagining that shaving back then. Like they
it was a stone tool if this was Moses' time, but I think we probably moved up to like an iron razor, which is not a lot better.
Man, I'm terrified. I'm terrified. Like, oh man. Yes. I mean, you see how people nick themselves with little safety razors nowadays, and so if people are nicking themselves with the safety razors, I can only imagine what they're doing with these little iron blades, man. Like I imagine a lot of people got scabby after this. That's all
I can imagine. And probably had ingrowth hairs and infection and all sorts of good stuff. These people don't know. I mean, washing water. Well, who's been crapping in that water before it got to you?
Right?
It's like the river that runs through Victoria, where I live at. Yeah. There's nothing but feedlots north of here.
Oh, man.
And cattle stuff and farming. And so you can imagine the crap that runs into the river, that the city down here at the other end, they're pumping that out for drinking water. Of course, they're running it through all sorts of water treatment stuff, but imagine if you didn't have that. You were just getting it right out of the river.
Oh, that'd be horrible. My goodness. All right, man. Well, let's pick up with verse 10 and see if this gets any more interesting, or if we have to continue to work really hard to pull something out of this.
Okay.
Now on the 8th day, he is to take 2 male lambs without defect. Alright, let me make sure I get my little, there we go. 2 male lambs without defect, where did I go? And a yearling ewe lamb without defect, and 3/1075 fine flour mixed with oil as a grain offering, and 1 log of oil. And the priest who is going to pronounce him clean shall present the person to be cleansed, and the offerings before the Lord, all at the doorway of the tent of the meeting. Then the priest shall take the 1 male lamb and bring it as a guilt offering with the log of oil, and present them as a wave offering before the Lord. Next, he shall slaughter the male lamb in the place where they slaughter the sin offering and the burnt offering, at the place of the sanctuary where the guilt offering, like the sin offering, belongs to the priest. It is most holy. The priest shall then take some of the blood of the guilt offering, and the priest shall put it on the lobe of the right ear of the one to be cleansed, and on the thumb of his right hand, and on the big toe of his right foot. Just, why would I be touching people's toes, man? And then the priest shall also take some of the log of oil and pour it to his palm. It is. It's like, I don't want to freak out more about the blood or the toe now. Like, and now you want me to do a bloody toe, and you know, these people are wearing sandals all day anyway, so their toes are not great places.
No.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. I'm gonna freak out like that. It's just like, why do we do this? I'm with you with the thumb, I'm with you with the ear, but then you start going down towards the toe and say, let me put some blood down there around that toenail too. Whoa. And it's very clear that it's the big toe.
Yeah.
Yikes. Okay.
Well, you gotta do it just right, or it's not gonna work. I mean, it's a magic spell, is what it is.
Oh man. It really is blood magic, right? Like all the way down.
Yeah, it's blood magic.
I've seen this before.
and like I put in the comments last time, this isn't even really leprosy, but if he had real leprosy, like the kind of Hansen's disease, he wouldn't probably have a big toe to put it on.
That is true.
Or a thumb, or an earlobe.
Oh man, that's right. Yeah, because that's how leprosy works.
Yeah, things fall off.
So at this moment, it's like the priests have created this hyper scare around leprosy without the people actually knowing what the symptoms of leprosy are. So now any little thing can be wrong with their skin, and the priest gets to claim that, hey, this might be leprosy, so I'm going to need this guilt offering and the sin offering from you.
That's right. If you have a bad case of zits on your face, I've had acne pretty much my entire adult life, and from a teenager on up. They own me. It's like, oh, you got leprosy again. It's time for you to go, hang out in the wilderness somewhere. Don't be around nobody, because your leprosy is evil and bad. You're unclean, which represents us in our sinful state.
Oh man, that's crazy. Yeah. This is one hell of a grift. I don't think I saw that one before. They were running this one.
They get the goodies. They get the best part of the sacrifice.
Yes.
For themselves, and then they give the rest of it to God.
Man,
it's like every day's barbecue day at the Jewish temple.
It is. Man. Oh, I love this. All right. So let's see here. Let's take verse 14. Verse 16. The priest shall then dip his right hand finger, into the oil that is in his left palm, and with his finger sprinkle some of the oil 7 times before the Lord, because the Lord wants you to make it rain. Is what's happening there.
Stupid!
Some on the right earlobe of the one to be cleansed, and on the thumb of his right hand, and on the big toe of his right foot again, on the blood of the guilt offering. As for the rest of the oil,
I got one word of advice for you. Resign!
So the priest shall make atonement on his behalf before the Lord. The priest shall next offer the sin offering and make atonement for the one to be cleansed from his uncleanness.
Motherfucker.
Then afterward he shall slaughter the burnt offering. The priest shall offer up burnt offering and the grain offering on the altar. So the priest shall make atonement for him, and he will be clean.
Yes.
see how many more. There's a few more verses, so we'll stop there a little bit. All right, so far I see the priest is getting a lot of food out of this. I've heard lamb so far. I've heard some bird. He's now getting some grain offering. I did hear some flour earlier. I now want to know what's on the menu at this cookout.
Okay, I'll put your black ass.
This actually sounds a little tasty. I'm not gonna lie. Sorry for my vegan friends. But it sounds like these people are really throwing down.
Now I'm going to black ass a poor sport.
Play the cards right with that flour and also fry some stuff. You know?
Oh yes, come on now.
Fried bird. Fried lamb chops, you know, just fucker.
My dick's about to hang out of your mouth.
Oh man. So
comes migrating all the way up your fucking
esophagus. It's an incredibly good, just for lack of better words, I don't like using this word a lot, but it's boring. It's a very boring book. There's a lot of repetitiveness. It's just like we're going to pick a sin in every chapter and then tell you all the different ways you can get that sin atoned for, if you will. And it's pretty much all the same thing. And so like I don't know like why this couldn't have been 2 chapters. Chapter 1, here's all the shit that you can't do. And then chapter 2, if you do any of these things, just go ahead and run through the gamut of all of these. Go ahead and get some blood on your finger, on your earlobe, sprinkle your blood around, spin yourself around a little bit, put your left foot in, put your left foot out, and then you do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself out. You know what I'm saying? To jump in, to jump out. Like why you gotta have all this?
I can tell you why. It's called the banality. It's called the banality of evil or tyranny. If you look at like the Nazis or any dictatorship or the Catholic Church or any church for that matter, there's all these little rules and stuff that they want you to follow. And they do that even though they're boring and difficult to follow because that locks you in tighter to the system. If you're wasting your time doing all this stuff, because you're afraid you're going to go to hell if you don't, then you're going to find yourself being more and more tied to the system. It's kind of like the same sort of way Trump supporters can never admit, even when it's going to become very, very apparent that Trump is evil, bad, and everything he's been doing is wrong, because they're locked in. But they're locked in by the stupidity and the banality of the evil. And since I personally believe something evil, this is what this is all about. You know, if you do all this stuff and you're kosher and you're following all the rules, all 613 rules that you're supposed to follow in order to be an observant Jewish person, then you're locked in.
Wow.
And you have a vested interest in the system now. Kind of like if you've worked someplace for 20 years. And you've been putting money in let's say the retirement fund or whatever. You have a vested interest, and that's the same thing here. You have a vested interest in this, and you're locked into it. No matter how boring it is, no matter how banal it is, no matter how stupid it is, it's something that's important to you in your delusion. And so you're locked into it now.
Man, I gotta go shit again.
And that's what the whole book of Leviticus is about, and Deuteronomy, and a bunch of that crap in Exodus, too.
Man. Oh, that's good. That's like, yikes. It's so meticulous, it's so detailed, it's so mundane, and so repetitive for that reason. To make you feel, wow.
And the thing is, because it is so detailed and so repetitive, there's no way you're ever going to be able to cover all the bases all the time.
Yep.
You're only going to need the services of that priest to come and bail you out because you messed up.
Whew. Oh man, yeah. Because I mean, it's damn like because what's been kind of superimposed is a standard that you can't measure up to, and so if you accept this standard, then you also have to accept the fact that you're not capable of measuring up, and so you have to lean into the grace of that, and in a very sick way, you become grateful for the law itself. That's
right,
man. Oh man. Yeah.
And the thing is, the Catholics actually have this a lot righter than the Protestants do. They refer to the New Testament as the new law, the law of Christ, the new law, and they treat it that way. There's a reason why they call their guys priests and not, pastor or brother or whatever.
Yes.
It's because they haven't taken all these little details and stuff, but they cast their guys in the same type of identity.
Yeah.
The priest here stands between you and God. He's the one that offers the sacrifice. He's the one that slaps the goop on your head to show you're really forgiven. He's the one that kills the bird and all that kind of stuff. And a Catholic priest, in a very similar sense, does the same thing. He's the only one who can confect the Eucharist, which is the never-ending sacrifice of Jesus' body and blood on the cross over and over and over again. He's the only one who can say, I stand between you and God because I am the alter Christus. I'm like another Christ because of the indelible mark of the priesthood on my soul. Protestants, we're a little shoddier about it. We aren't quite as invested in that particular aspect of the whole religion grift.
Yeah.
We do more of a cult of personality sort of thing.
Yes, sir.
Where, the pastor, the main preacher, he's the guy that everybody's supposed to look up to. But in this case, this priest, he's doing all this stuff because, whether he believes it or not, you kind of get the impression from the New Testament that the priestly party, the Sadducees, they didn't really believe all this stuff. They were just doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if, let's say, this guy believes it, he believes it because that means he's better than everybody else. God made him a priest, a kohanim. So he's one of the, he's big and important and all that.
Yes.
So he deserves all these goodies that they get. And you see that being abused, later on in the book of Judges and in 1 Samuel, where you have these priests like, what was it, Eli's sons.
Eli's sons, yes.
Yeah, they're and the thing is, everybody's like, oh, Eli's sons. No, man. They have recognized the great train they're on, and they are taking full advantage of it.
That's it. Yep. Oh,
man. And when I look back on my own ministry and stuff, and I think, there's a lot of great trains I could have jumped on, and I never did.
Oh, my goodness. Man, who you telling? Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I had guys tell me, Coffee, we like you. We really want to see you, move up in the world, and it's just always like, I don't have anything to do with you. Because they just, one thing about being autistic is people with autism have a very, very, very strong sense of what's right and what's wrong and what's fair and what's not fair. And these guys always just like, whoa, even I didn't realize I was autistic until I was about 62 years old. I can look back and I can see where being autistic saved me from getting sucked even deeper into the mire, the vat of alcoholism.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
So,
wow.
This is really fun. We're having a good time, man.
This is like, oh my goodness. All right, so this next section, I know we're gonna have some talks about, and this was one with since I've been going through this secular career, and we started at Genesis 1, chapter 1, and so since I've been going through this, especially as we've gotten into Exodus, something that I don't think that ever stood out to me before is what we're getting ready to see here, and that is that the priest system wasn't just like the forgiveness system also had like a social aspect to it in the sense that you couldn't afford a certain thing, you could substitute it. And I don't know how that missed me before, but we're gonna read this real quick and we damn sure gotta talk about it. But it says, but if
I see a dick in your future. I see a dick. I see a dick in your future. I see a dick. Dick.
And a log of oil, and 2 turtle doves or 2 young doves which are within his knees. The one shall be a sin offering, and the other a burnt offering.
Then on the 8th day he shall bring them for his cleansing to the priest at the doorway of the tent of meeting.
Stupid!
Shall take the lamb of the guilt offering,
Just that rookie by.
and the
I'm
priest
thinking
shall
that you're
offer
right.
them
My
as a
horse.
wave offering before
My
the
horse
Lord.
speaks to the
Next he shall slaughter the lamb
What?
of the
Twist.
guilt offering, and
Come out of
the
here.
priest take some of the blood of the guilt offering and put it on the lobe of the right ear of the one to be cleansed, and on the thumb of the right hand, and on the big toe and of his right foot. The priest shall also pour some of the oil into his left palm, and with his right finger the priest shall sprinkle some of the oil that is in his left palm 7 times for the Lord. And then the priest is going to put some of that oil in his palm. He's going to do some more stuff with it because they're going to be repetitive. And then moreover, the rest of the oil in the priest's palm, he shall put it on the one to be cleansed, make atonement on his back.
Damn, that was brilliant. That was stupid on this part.
One of the turtle doves or young doves,
which
are
bitch
within his meat.
motherfucker.
He shall not offer what he cannot. He shall offer what he can afford. The one as a sin offering and the other as a burnt offering.
You absent-minded bitch.
So the priest shall make atonement for the Lord on behalf of the one
bitch.
Now, I think the early part of my relationship with Scripture, I definitely believed that the Bible was chronological. And so getting from Exodus to where God is setting his people free into Leviticus, and then finding out that they're not only slaves, but they're also poor people. Can somebody please help me understand how we got slaves and poor people? Now the slaves, they were always there, and like I could even as I got older, I could justify that through Scripture. Well, God told them to command them to take these people. But like this is supposed to be chronologically.
I see a dick in your future. I see a dick.
You know.
I see a dick in your future. I see a dick.
Well, yeah, because if it's chronological, they just come out of Egypt and they were told to plunder the people of Egypt. Go and ask everybody for gold and crap like that, and then they hauled all that through the Red Sea and into Mount Sinai and all that. And it's like, okay. Did these people just not go plunder good enough? Did they grow their plunder? Did they stop at the knick-knack shop there at the foot of Mount Sinai and blow all their plunder on something? Or what's the deal? How in the world did we get this? But if you think about it being written during the time of the Persians, then you understand why there are poor people there. And slaves and stuff. It doesn't become it's still crazy because what the poor guy's offering is still a lot compared.
Yes, it is.
It's like, and wave offering. I never have been real clear on wave offering. I know that you don't kill it or burn it, but I think the priest gets to keep it.
Yeah,
if it's a wave offering. So he can do something with it later. So it's like this guy's out a bunch. Here's a log of oil. That's like what, 2 liters, I think.
Man.
And I mean, he's got a lot of stuff. And of course, he's had to shave his head and stay away from everybody, and shave off all the hair of his body with whatever it was they were using. If it's Moses' day, we're talking, flint knives. Because that's what they used to circumcise people with.
Yes.
And so it's just crazy town, man. It's crazy town.
No, do you think in this case that like the poor people felt really glad that their sins could be forgiven too? It was like when the priest was like, "Hey, don't you wait. We have a package for your budget as well." Do you think that was an exciting moment for them? Oh,
yeah, I would hope they thought it was exciting. I mean, I guess, I hope they weren't sucked into the whole thing. But because one of the things you always have to remember when you read this stuff is that it's all stuff made up by people.
Yes.
And if you follow on in the historical books, it talks about they were worshiping the Baalim and all these other people off out in the woods someplace. The vast majority of people didn't go down to the temple when it was built in Jerusalem every time they were supposed to go.
Yeah.
They were like most people around here, used to, church attendance was what, around 50, 75, 80%. And that was like maybe one service in the morning. These people, they were kind of more like we are now. I think a lot of them didn't bother with going to church. Now, of course, if you believe what it tells us in Leviticus, and then if you think Leviticus is boring, Numbers is worse.
Oh man, yes.
And how everybody, we got this marching order and all this kind of crap. So I guess they didn't have much choice. They kind of had to, if you buy into the rhetorical situation the priestly author was trying to set up here, and the redactor who kind of joined all these things together to make these first 5 books. You buy into that rhetorical situation, it's like getting in the fucking army, man. It's like, you don't get to decide, I don't think I'm going to go to the temple today. God damn it, you're going to the temple? Or we're going to take you outside the camp, and we're going to stone your ass!
That's biblical. That's
biblical. You don't dig your hole deep enough to take a crap in, we're going to take you outside the camp and stone your ass.
Oh man, damn. Like that reminds me of a group of commercials to do just called That's Biblical. To just list a whole bunch of atrocious things to do, and then just remind people that this is a biblical option. This is one of the things that you could biblically do to somebody,
Yeah. Sell your daughter into sex slavery. That's biblical.
Oh my goodness.
Dang it. Excuse me, y'all. I'm sorry to be coughing all over the mic. Part of that is happening because this shit is kind of funny. And so
when you look at it objectively and you really think about what it's saying, it's like, this is stupid.
Yes.
It's really stupid and pointless and a total waste of resources for the people who are suffering from the grift.
Yes. Yes.
The priests are making out like bandits.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. It's like mini empires for them, man. They get free food. Like, man, I would like that, okay? If people brought me, like, you have to imagine how many lamb chops they're getting daily.
Really?
Yikes. Like, oh, man, they're getting lamb chops, turtle doves, cornbread, man. Well, I know it's not cornbread, but you know.
Yeah, good flour to make bread with. And it's like, these guys are, they're sad.
Yeah.
And what I always thought about was, what I had thought about a few times in looking at this stuff when I would read through the whole Bible, it's like, okay, you got all these guys, what kind of zoo was in this case, the tent of meeting, and later on, the temple in Jerusalem? What kind of zoo would it be when you had thousands of people showing up to do this stuff?
Oh man, yes.
Not the leprosy thing, or anybody getting their wife cleansed after she had a boy, or however, 3 weeks for a girl, and all these other offerings that you're supposed to bring and stuff. What kind of zoo would that be? It would be worse than going to Walmart on Saturday.
Wow, no, you're right. You're right. I don't imagine this to be very sanitary.
Yeah,
man, your wife is there. She's just given birth, and she's surrounded by a whole bunch of animals that are being slaughtered at this moment.
And they're all crapping and pissing, and who knows what the people are doing, and hand washing. What's that, man? So that's basic sanitation stuff. Because what gets me is when I used to hear people say, "Oh, well, this is just part of God trying to help the Israelites remain clean and sanitary. Keep them away from bad food. It talks about all the things you're not supposed to eat." And it's like, that's bullshit.
Right, like, he literally has them dipping themselves in blood. This is not how sanitation works.
That's right. Blood carries all sorts of awful things. Yes. What if one of these guys has got tuberculosis and you don't know it yet? Because it was around back then.
Yeah.
Oh, they might tell you different. Tuberculosis was around back then. Smallpox was around. A lot of diseases we take for granted. And I kind of wonder sometimes if some of this stuff that they're describing as leprosy isn't just smallpox or some other kind.
Yeah. Because it's definitely not leprosy.
Yeah, it's definitely not leprosy. If you don't lose all the feeling in your extremities and it can exert full strength to do things and it tears the skin up on your hands and then it gets infected and rots off, that's not really leprosy. That doesn't happen.
Wow. That's terrifying.
Cancer disease is very interesting.
Yeah. Man.
But I think you can cure it now with antibiotics because it's caused by bacteria. Cancer disease is very interesting. That doesn't happen.
Wow. That's terrifying.
Cancer disease is very interesting.
Yeah. Man. That's terrifying.
Cancer disease is very interesting.
Yeah. Wow. That's terrifying.
Cancer disease is very interesting.
Yeah. Man.
But I think you can cure it now with antibiotics because it's caused by bacteria.
That's interesting. Like, I don't think I knew that.
Microbacterium leprosy.
I'm not gonna lie.
I don't blame you because back in the old days before antibiotics, they had leper colonies. They don't do that anymore. I'm pretty sure you can treat it with antibiotics and get over it.
Microbacterium leprosy.
If you have
I
a
remember a
leper.
Monk episode about that. Now that you mention it.
I didn't get to watch too many episodes of Monk, but I love Monk.
Oh,
He is
amazing, man.
he just the whole,
Yes.
because I'm kind of like that. I am germophobic.
Man, oh, I love it. I love it. All right, so this chapter is turning out to be very long. Let me see how long this next section is, because I at least want to get through 2. Okay, so, all right, yeah, I think we can make it through it. So, this is about cleansing a house, and I'm gonna ask you after I read this section.
Okay.
But so the Lord further spoke to Moses and to Aaron, saying, when you enter the land of Canaan, which I am giving you as a possession, and I put a spot of leprosy on a house in the land of your possession, because now houses can get leprosy.
That's
Damn,
right.
I misread that subtitle. Wow. Then the one who owns the house shall come and tell the priest, saying, something like a spot of leprosy has become visible to me in the house. Something like a spot of leprosy. He looked like a man. Somebody's gonna get that. But something like a spot of leprosy has become visible to me in the house. The priest shall then command that they empty the house before the priest goes in to look at the spot, so that everything in the house need not become unclean. And afterward the priest shall go in and look at the house. So he shall look at the spot, and if the spot on the wall has greenish or reddish depressions and appears deeper than the surface, the priest shall come out of the house to the doorway and quarantine the house for 7 days. I want to see this fucking movie so bad now. Then the priest shall return on the 7th day and make an inspection. If the spot has indeed spread on the walls of the house, the priest shall order them to pull out the stones with the spot on them and throw them away at an unclean place outside the city. And he shall have the house scraped all around inside, and they shall dump the plaster and they scrape off at an unclean place outside the city. Then they shall take other stones and replace the discarded stones, and he shall take the other plaster and replaster the house. So last week we found out that clothes can be leprous, and now this week we found out that apparently your house can be leprous. Now I had a whole other question that I was going to ask you, but I need AT. Can you help us understand how this house got leprosy? How did the house contact leprosy? How did this happen?
Well, what's going on here is somebody saw some mold or some mildew and didn't know what it was. Maybe some of the mud they used to plaster. This isn't plaster. It's mud. It's clay mud, just like you make a pie out of or something. That they've been slopping up on the wall. Who knows? There may have been a dead salamander in there, or some other creature that has started to rot, and You've seen mold before. You've seen how it can be very colorful. And that's what they see on the wall. And oh my God! And they go and they find, the priest. But what gets me is it's like, okay, this house has, this is something like a mark of leprosy has become visible in the house. And it tells them to go empty the house so that everything that's in the house is not going to become unclean. It's like, dude, you just told the guy you saw something you thought was leprosy on the house. What the hell makes you think that furniture and all that other crap that you just drug out of there had already contracted leprosy too? You know? Come on, man. What are we doing here? Oh, it's just unreal. Because when you look at it and you try to seriously play out what it's going to look like in your mind, this is ridiculous.
Well, I can't get over. My house looks like it's full of leprosy, and you know how bad leprosy is, so I gotta go get all my shit out of my house. And so it doesn't get leprosy. It's already been in the house with leprosy.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I'm just trying to imagine.
It's like, my wife and my daughter, they both got COVID. I better get out of the house before I get. Dude, you already got it, man.
Yes. It's like at this moment, leprosy just seems to be a demon that you can assign to any color on anything that you don't recognize. Is that a color you don't know? That's a demon. I'm going to come exercise your house. That'll be 1,500 goats, please. Thank you.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
and that's exactly what it is, you know? And it doesn't say who's doing all this tearing down and stuff, but I think they're not doing that for free.
Right, yeah. No.
Probably some of those auxiliary Levite guys that are part of the priest's entourage come and do all that tearing out, and it's like, hey man, where's my goat? You owe me a goat, man.
That's right.
You owe me each flower, man. Dude, cough it up, or I'm not going to put the new stones in there for you, dude.
I want to see an American team flick called Dude, Where's My Goat? Like, and
it's like, okay, so how come the guys here that on the wall aren't unclean?
Man,
And the guys waving on plaster off. I mean,
man.
You ever scrape paint or anything like that? It's like dust everywhere, man. And you're sucking that in.
This is horrible. Yikes. Okay, so the question I was going to ask, because I wasn't expecting this to go this way. I totally misread the leprous title. I thought we're cleaning a house that a leprous person had been in. I didn't know they called leprosy. And so that was funny to me. But the question I was going to ask, because I know in Pentecostal churches, it is very common for people to ask pastors to come and pray for their houses, to come and do things like that. Have you ever had to bless anybody's house or pray for the house or anything?
Yeah, I've done that. I've been in
Move, you whore!
People, moving into a new house.
Yeah.
I went to exercise the house one time.
Ooh, fun!
Yeah.
How did it go?
Well, wasn't anything going on there that I could tell, but I put a good show on for them. And the guys told me later, oh yeah, man, it's so much better since you've been there, man. It's like, I'm not having the dark demon on my chest and all that. I'm thinking, dude, you're not taking your bipolar meds. That's what that is. But I say that. That's what I'm thinking. But yeah, I went and exercised the house. I still got my little bottles of oil, olive oil. I've got which one did I use? Hyssop. I use hyssop and I purge me with hyssop, and I shall be pure.
Yes.
Yeah. But man, they were freaking out. They thought that there was this demon in the house and all this, and I was like, demon, but okay. I'm not going to discount their experience because they may have actually, because of the way our brains work, but having me go through there and do the thing, they felt better. And I never heard anything else about any demon possession in the house or people in the house.
Yes. That's so funny because I used to have to do that, and I know something I was always very uncomfortable with. Now, in my early days, I felt good. Like I felt like a superhero. I was a kid and I was arrogant, and so I used to do exorcisms. I used to cast devils out of people. But I started. Oh man, I was there. But like, mind you, I was like 17, 18, and 19 back then.
Oh, okay.
By the time I hit 20, I just didn't like the way that it looked, and I was concerned. I was like, I don't know how to delineate whether this is a demon or if someone is having a mental issue, and I don't want to be the person responsible for exasperating that. And so I stopped. But I would still get people who would ask me, like, come pray for my house, cast the devils out of my house. That I felt was like a victimless crime, so I'd still do, but it would be very uncomfortable. So there was this lady, every time she moved into a new house, Pastor, you gotta come, you gotta get these demons out of here, Pastor, you gotta get them in, and I go there, and she'd tell me about stuff. I found a pentagram under the carpet, Pastor. Oh my Lord, found a Ouija board in the back closet. And so, I'd walk through and I'd open up all the doors and I'd say, I command everything in here that does not line up with the word of God to flee. I call in the angels and all this bullshit. Put on an amazing show. An amazing show. And I wouldn't feel anything, but they would feel like, Pastor, I haven't had this good of sleep for weeks. And it's just like, okay. All right, maybe something is working there, but I didn't feel it. And for years, I honestly felt like that was the thorn in my flesh, that I could be a distributor of the presence of God and never experience it myself. Man.
Yeah, that's heavy duty because I did a couple houses, but what I would do is I'd come in and put some oil on my thumb and do this and I claim this house in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. It is His property. It is holy ground. Every demon, every false spirit, every lying spirit, you need to leave now because I command you in the name of Jesus Christ, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. And He is going to come back someday, and if He hadn't got you already, He's going to get you. He's gone on spirits. Something like that. But I like yours was more fun.
Oh man, yeah, it was a whole show. Like, you gotta walk around each room. You gotta wrestle with the devil sometimes. I feel you, devil. You won't win today. Yeah, like a whole WWE type of thing.
What I would do is I'd go around and I'd start off with the entrance door. And after I said the initial prayer, I would go along and with my hyssop on, say, I purge this room with hyssop, and it shall be pure.
Damn it.
Like that.
God damn it.
Yes, sir.
And it seemed to work for them.
Yep. And I think
God damn it.
Understate that of how much
God,
pastor's
Jesus fucking
comes
Christ.
from the people that we served. They were just as much strength to our faith as we were strength to theirs. So there were plenty of times where I was unsure if I was supposed to be doing something or if this is what God wanted, and it was, or even this was even working. And it would be our members who would say, Pastor, that sermon you preached today, that was nobody but God. And then if you had even started to doubt, like, I don't think I hear from God, that type of reinforcement becomes incredibly powerful for a person who's still, like, if you still are open to believing, and the person says, Pastor, I don't know if you know this, but what you preached today, that's exactly what I needed to hear. Outside of knowing how to know, that becomes incredibly reinforcing for the pastor. And I think people don't understand how that works sometimes. They really think it's just us telling them what to believe. Yeah. There's a feedback loop. Yes. Oh, man.
Because I know, both churches I pastored, the one I pastored for 5 years, and then the one I pastored for almost 19 years, they were small, older Southern Baptist congregations, and there wasn't a lot of feedback. I would have, typically, nobody would come down to the front during the altar call. Occasionally, somebody would, but And it was hard to stay enthusiastic about that because these people were, they already got their ticket to glory, and that was for old people. But occasionally I heard somebody tell me, because I stood at the back at the door and shook hands with everybody when they were leaving.
Yeah.
And I heard somebody say, "Preacher, that sermon, everyone just enough to not lose total faith in that. Well, yeah, I am doing what God wants me to do."
Yep, because I mean, it's like we in order to keep doing it, we have to believe two things. Number one, that God wants us to do it, and that number two, that it is helping the people. And it's the people's testimony that ends up convincing us of both. If they're telling us, Pastor, that helped. If they're telling us, even if it's just telling us that you came and sat at the hospital with me, or with my mother, or with my father, and that meant the world to me, then immediately our mind goes like, man, if I wasn't a Christian pastor, if I wasn't, who else would have been here to do it? And so it really, man, it plays on you for real.
Yeah, and I did a lot of sitting in hospital rooms in my time in ministry. Because, like I said, most of the people in the church were old. I'd go up there, if somebody came and said, "Pastor, I need you to pray for so-and-so in the hospital, as their uncle," or, I'd go to the hospital. Because I had this thing that I did was, I realized that telling people, "Oh, I'll pray for you," is not nearly as good as just going ahead and praying for them.
Yep. Yes.
And if you stop me in the grocery store and said, "Preacher, I need you to pray for us," like, "Okay, we're going to pray right now."
Yep.
And I would do that in Walmart, HEB, which is a local Texas chain here, or anywhere, the mall, any place like that. And I always made sure. A lot of time at the hospital. I always went to funeral visitations, whether I was doing the funeral or not. And I went to people's houses a lot. And of course, then I preached 3 times a week on top of that, plus whatever funerals or weddings. And then I was also kind of a big wheel in the Baptist Association. Maybe not a big wheel, but I was involved in the Baptist Association. I was the parliamentarian. I was in charge of making sure the Constitution and the bylaws and all that stuff actually made sense and wouldn't get us sued by somebody.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff is just wild when you look at it and you go, "Oh my God, what?" Like, how to accept members into the association, that made absolutely no sense.
Wow.
And we had a situation where somebody didn't like another church coming in, and it's like, well, we don't have any provision in here to take care of that. And so I ended up coming up with a procedure and all this that the association voted on. I said, "Yeah, we like that." I was like, "Okay, cool, good." And they still use it, as far as I know. But I was a busy guy. Sometimes I just go cruise around in stores and stuff, waiting for the Lord to run me into somebody that
wow, yes, sir.
That kind of stuff.
I used to do that. I would go to the projects in my neighborhood and in my city, and I'd go to the malls, and I'd walk around and I'd say, "Lord, you're going to lead me to somebody, and we're going to make some impact in their lives today." And of course, it would never fail. I'd always end up talking to somebody. Number one, because I'm pretty good at talking to folk, and number two, I live in a society where the majority of people have already been predisposed to Christian beliefs. So it makes it very easy to talk to somebody about it. Now, I imagine if I had ever been trying to convince anybody to come and join the Jedi with me, I wonder how well received those conversations would have been then. I don't think they would have went over with the same type of... Well, maybe they would have went over better. Who knows?
Well, it depends. If you were wearing like those cool knee-high brown leather boots and the robes and all that. And you had a functional lightsaber, then hey, because like what I would do is I always had a New Testament in my back pocket.
Yeah.
With it had the New Testament and it had the Psalms and the Proverbs.
Is that
the Proverbs? No, I actually went out and bought one in the New American Standard version.
Oh, awesome! Yes, I say awesome.
Yeah.
That's what I would have said if I was still a pastor.
Yeah, I think I still have it somewhere. And then over the years, I found some smaller Bibles, so I wouldn't have to carry this around with me everywhere, because that gets old pretty quick. But yeah, I always had a New Testament in my back pocket, so I could share comfort from the Psalms or evangelize or whatever.
Yes. Oh man, that is.
Had to be ready to Jesus hard.
That's right. Yeah, got to be instant in season and out of season.
That's right,
man. Ooh, I drilled that into myself as a young man. From the years of 11 to 14, be instant, be always ready to give an answer. And it's so funny how much, and I don't know if this was like this in the Southern Baptist Convention, but I know in the charismatic Pentecostal and Pentecostal churches there was this martyrdom glorification. Just the goal, like you just the greatest honor would be to be able to die for your faith, and you like that was honestly how I viewed my sin walk. Is that like me not living in sin was proving to God that I'm willing to die for my faith, and I wanted God to really understand that that's who I am. That I will die for you, God. Did y'all have that same type of martyrization complex within Southern Baptist circles?
It depends. I knew people that were like that. I knew preachers that were like that. A lot of our focus was less on the whole martyr thing and more on winning people to the Lord.
Yeah.
Even though the stats, if you look at them, it took more and more people from a given congregation to win anybody to the Lord. And then the really big thing was missionaries, because we had huge international missions program, and they still have a huge they call it North American missions. Even though Mexico is part of North America, it's not included in the North American Mission Board. It's an international mission.
I don't think I ever realized that.
I always thought that was kind of racist, but Canada is North American missions, but even though it's a foreign country, but Mexico, even though it's part of the same, Mexico is part of North America. It's what they call foreign mission board. It's international missions.
Man, wow. I was a part of the North American Mission Board, well, not the board, but I was a part of the organization for a very brief while. But because I know in Alabama, they were really targeting black pastors, and this was right before Fred Luter became president of the convention. They were really targeting black pastors in this area who were of other denominations, and letting them know that, hey, if you're starting your church, we'll help you start it. The Baptist faith and way is all about being autonomous as long as we agree on the big things. And we have a lot of support for you. And so I have a lot of black pastor friends who ended up connecting with the SBC over there. Some of them are still connected.
We were doing that as early as, let's see, I went on the field February 1st, 1998. And we started doing that about 2000. We really started leaning into having African American churches join our association and get involved with the Southern Baptist Convention. Most of the folks there's a few that joined the association. We had some other ones that left after that particular director of missions. embezzled a bunch of money and got off scot-free because he was a white boy from Victoria. And several black churches said, "No, I don't think so. That was one of us. We'd be park walking down to jailtown."
God damn it!
In fact, they were trying to. There was a faction in the association that was trying to keep him on as the director of missions and have him work off.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how homeboy this guy was. I mean, he grew up. He's just a few years older than I am, but he grew up in Victoria. Was a member of the largest at that time church in Victoria as a youth. He grew up as a youth and all this stuff. And he pastored a large church for quite a while north of Victoria, and they were bending over backwards trying to keep him out of jail. And they succeeded. They came up with this confidential settlement that he basically got off scot-free. He cashed in his retirement, which wasn't anywhere near the $220,000 he probably took off with.
Man, that's crazy.
But
it's a common narrative.
Oh yeah, it is. It is. I did not realize how common it was until I was a little further down the road. But they signed an agreement that they wouldn't prosecute him if he would give them all all his retirement, cash it in, and then promise to pay back the rest as he was able. Last time I heard anything, he wasn't able to pay back anything. But I mean, he couldn't get a church job because nobody wanted, you call it the association. Well, he was director of missions there for a number of years. What kind of director of missions was he? Oh, well, I can tell you he worked here.
Yep.
That's sad.
That's not
great. No. He would have been much happier killing birds and sprinkling blood, I think, as a
man. That is man. Okay, so honestly, I didn't expect for us to get as much as to talk about as much as we did tonight. But this has all been good. We're going to go ahead and bring it to a close. For those of you who did not read the rest of this chapter, spoiler alert, it's about leprosy. It's not leprosy. That's what we learned. That's what the past two chapters we've learned these people don't know what the fuck leprosy is. And so please do not take your medical advice from this book or any book that is within this age range. I'm not being discriminatory. Don't take your medical advice from stuff that is this fucking old.
This is the Go-Herder's Guide to reality.
Yes. Ooh, yes. Well, AT, one of the things that I like to do anytime we have other people on with us, man, I like to kind of give you some closing words before I put you backstage. So I'm going to give you the full screen, and literally you can say whatever you want to say, man. If you want to say a benediction, if you want to say something to let people know what you're doing now, just want to encourage people, or you want to nerd out for a little bit, it's okay. We're community here. It's okay.
Well, I really want to say I really have enjoyed doing it. I want to do this some more.
Yes.
I'm ready to roll.
Spit.
I don't have anything in particular going on right now, but I am involved with the documentary Heathens that Durante was talking about earlier. I also would encourage you to go onto YouTube and watch the series on religious trauma put together by H.D. Roberts. I've started reading his book.
Damn,
have you read his book, Durante?
I have not yet.
Spit smelled.
I started it last night, and
I'm bringing out that whore.
It's traumatizing to read, but I can certainly understand. It's necessary for it to be there. But he had. I would recommend you read his book if you really want to understand the roots of religious trauma as well. But yeah, we're just kind of hanging out right now. I'm technically retired because I draw Social Security retirement, but I'm always looking for something to do because
I don't make much.
Yeah.
Man, yes.
Yeah, I think we're the ones that we would have had to bring the turtle doves to the priest instead of the regular doves.
That's right.
That's right. Make modifications for.
I would have been lucky to have a turtle dove.
Well, like my whole life, growing up, it just shows you how uninterested I was. But I had no clue what a turtle dove was. And so if a priest would have ever asked me for one, I would have been so confused.
I still don't know what they are. I'm sure, I've heard that word online, but I've never looked it up to see what it is.
I've always imagined it as those little things on Mario, man. The little ducks with the turtle backs. Like, I'm just thinking, like, man.
And now I'm going to have to look it up because I never really realized what they were before. That's bad. Even as a pastor, I didn't care enough to go look it up. It's like something like apparently close enough to a dove to pass muster down at the old blood sacrifice.
It works. Like, hey, it's in the Bible, and apparently your Christmas, your true love can give it to you on one of the days of Christmas.
Right.
Well, again, AT, thank you so much for being here with me tonight. I'm going to drop you up back into the stage as I do my closing, and then I'll be back in a few. Man, was that not amazing, y'all? I told y'all, like, AT has become a true friend, and, like, I've told him I want to keep him as busy as I can because he has so much to offer. Y'all, literally, we've been in an hour and a half. We didn't get through a full chapter. Now, mind you, this is a long fucking chapter. But we didn't get through a full chapter because there was so much conversation to be pulled out of this. And again, like I kind of told you at the beginning, the whole purpose of this channel and the work that we do is to be the bridge. And so, like, I realized my background is as a charismatic Pentecostal pastor in the urban mega church, seeker-friendly type movement. That's the backdrop of churches that I come from. But I've been so blessed to be able to have such a diverse group of people to come on with us. So we had Jason from Dragons and Genesis, who spent a whole book with us through the book of Exodus, and he comes from that Catholic background. Tonight we had AT, who comes from that Southern Baptist background. We may be the most united group of non-Christians that any Christians have ever been able to be before. But that's what I love because it gives us all a 360-degree view on what these scriptures are really saying, and how many of us who come from those different perspectives have come to these conclusions. One of my favorite parts about tonight, and I'm gonna hurry up and shut up. But one of my favorite parts about tonight is when AT got to share a little bit of his own deconversion story. Like, I'm gonna have to get him back just to unpack that whole journey all together. And it was basically, him saying, I realized that my mind is making some things there that are not there. The rest of it fell apart. It took me the longest time to get to that place. I deconstructed it, and it still took me some time to deconvert. It took me a long time to be like, oh, you just making this shit up, D. That's what that is. But that's such a liberating place to get to. One of the most beautiful things.
Get that whore out of you, slut!
It was communities. We have so many people who unashamedly
China!
identify as on the spectrum, as neurospicy, and for many of them, they've identified that as one of the reasons why they've struggled in many ways to conform to belief. And I think that's absolutely fascinating. So I'm so proud that we're building this type of community, that we're building this type of work. I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out our sister network, the Daily Atheist Media Network, with Chris Mallard doing great work over there. Please go check that out. We're in like partnership competition right now. So we're pushing each other every day, and it's absolutely beautiful. So please support that. That's all I really have for you all tonight, man. I absolutely love you. Thank you for supporting this channel and this community in the way that you do, and please continue to do so, because it's not just giving people like me a voice. It's helping all of the rest of us who are out here, who are actually trying to make a tangible difference. Your support is actually enabling us to do so.
And like that's real spill. And the best way for us to do this is to do this together. If you know, this is me, not to get political, but if we're going to make a difference, we're going to have to form a rainbow coalition. I'm quoting Steve Hampton here. A rainbow coalition of all of us, and work together to strike a mighty blow of empathy, of love, understanding, of compassion, and then most importantly, people willing to do the fucking work. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what it's going to come down to. And we're going to do our best to keep people like that in front of you all the time. We're going to do our best to keep people like that supported, keep people like that platform, and we're going to do our fucking best to lead a global movement. No excuses. All right, that's all I have. If y'all haven't already, like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the alert notification notes. If you're supporting, joining, connecting with this community channel or content in any way that makes sense for you, share this video because, hey, that shit helps. And of course, I love y'all so much, man. Until next time, keep rising, stay progressive, and stay beautiful if you can. It's just some things, there's no going back. You know what I'm saying? jwoodbeats.com. Yeah. I'm not the one with the issues. I hear you. Now here is your tissue. If I'm moving too fast, I might have to dismiss you. And it's really too bad, cause I really will miss you. But I'm not the one with the issues. I left in the church when I made it official. I murdered the curse with my own benediction. Left God in the dirt, call it death of the fiction. Superstition will be served in eviction. Competition will be left in the ditch. Oh my God, it's too damn hot in this kitchen. The fishes of men are now swimming with fishes. Oops, my bad, I guess I'm moving too vicious. Verses sold, I gotta put them on your wish list. Bless my soul, cause I'm dodging your little hit list. I guess you know.
Suck my dick, bitch. These fucking poems. Suck my dick, bitch. Suck my dick, bitch. God damn it. God damn it. God damn it. Jesus fucking Christ. The bird. The bird. The bird. The bird. The bird. The bird. The bird.